Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom, shagalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are all over the place. They are awesome. I've had fabulous feedback from people using them. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. This week has been a doo-doo show of epic proportions. So on, I think it was Wednesday, American citizen, wife, mother, dog owner was killed by ICE in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The videos that have come out from every angle show clearly that it was an unjustified killing. It was not self-defense in any way, shape, or form. The ICE agent themselves was videotaping and had enough time to switch the camera from one hand to the other and put his hand on his gun long before the car even moved. So basically, in his video, he says after he has shot this woman 3 times in the face and killed her, basically, effing bitch. Calm, cool, collected, not upset, no remorse, no fear, no nothing. That is the mark of an antisocial son of a bitch. I'm sorry. Do you know how many of my clients have heard those words, effing bitch, as they were passing out from being beaten, as they were being threatened with death, as they were being thrown around? And then he calmly walks to his car and leaves the scene of a civilian shooting? That is so illegal. That no law officer worth his salt, his or her salt, is okay with that. And that's the thing that makes me so angry, is that there are good law officers out there, and these jackasses are making it more dangerous for the good ones to do their job, because now everybody's afraid, and that's what they want. After this shooting, the very next day, there was another shooting by ICE, and the administration doubled down and said, oh, you're not seeing what you're seeing. No, don't look at the pink elephant taking a crap in the corner of the living room. Sound familiar? Oh, you didn't see that. Oh, that didn't happen. Oh, no, that officer was innocent. I'm sorry. It's not just the American public that saw it. The world saw it. There have been countries calling in, writing in, going, hey, guys, we saw it. You're not crazy. You saw what you saw. So that's what they do. They try to tell you you're crazy. You're seeing things wrong. Well, it's because we see what they're doing, and they want to punish us. The very next day after that, or even the same day, ICE agent came up to a woman who was filming, who said, shame on you. How dare you do this to our country, right? And he said to her the words of a rapist. He said to her the words of an abuser. He said to her the words of a narcissist. He said to her the words of an antisocial motherfucker. Haven't you learned your lesson yet? What lesson is that? What lesson are we supposed to learn? He knocked the camera out of her hand. I swear to God, I would have called the police and I would have charged him with assault. That is assault. If they are hitting you, if they are touching you, if they are putting hands on you, that is assault. Now, here's the bigger problem. Last year, 37 people have died directly as a result of ICE. They've either chased them off of cliffs and they died. They have been neglected, not allowed medical attention, and they died. Oh, that was the other thing. There was a physician in the crowd that said, let me go check her pulse. Let me see if I can help her. No, that's okay. We have our own medics. They denied her medical help. They denied her. They didn't have medics there. They denied her medical help. They carried her away from the scene to give her medical help. No, to make sure she was dead. That's what they were doing. This is not okay. This is exactly what the SS did in Germany. That's the other thing. In Germany, they would go door to door and check papers. Here's the deal. That is against the Constitution. Fourth Amendment says they have no business going door to door, and they do not have a right to enter your home unless there is a signed warrant. Not just any, oh, here's a signature. No. What judge? What jurisdiction? Where is it? So here's the deal. This government is protecting a murderer. They took him away. The ICE agents helped him move out. Masked ICE agents helped him and his spouse, who's Filipino, move out. Isn't that funny that he's going after immigrants, but he's married to a Filipino? Hypocrisy much? Wow. So they helped him move out. They're hiding him. He's a fugitive. Let's call it what it is. He's a fugitive. I don't care how many lies Kristi Noem says. She's a dog killer and she's a liar. And you cannot believe liars. You cannot believe the government. You cannot believe Trump without even having evidence, without even seeing the films, multiple angles, multiple people, multiple eyewitness accounts. They started calling her a domestic terrorist. That's what Germany did. Guys, this is dangerous and they want us afraid. So here's the deal. Don't get afraid, get pissed. Call every congressman, call every representative. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat or independent. You call them and you let them know, defund ICE. We're done. And where the hell are the Epstein files? And let me just take this a step further. I'm hearing from reliable sources that there are a lot of congressmen on the Epstein files, Republican congressmen. I'm sure there's Democrats too. And I don't give a damn. Whoever they are, they need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. There was sexual abuse of both boys and girls by high-powered political people, high-powered billionaires. And every time that we get close to seeing those names, have you noticed that something horrible happens? That's on purpose. That's on purpose. That's what an abuser does. This regime is basically abuse on a national scale. I've said it before, I'll say it again. And they have emboldened the minor narcissist. That fucking bitch thing that he said, that wasn't an I'm afraid. That was he was pissed that she wasn't afraid. He was pissed because she smiled at him and said, "Hey, I'm not mad at you, dude." All his video did was confirm that he's guilty. Period. End of discussion. It is no longer a question of, oh, well, that's your opinion. No, we are now, this is morality. Are you okay with a murderer? Are you okay with them condoning killing an American citizen, an American mom with her dog in the car? Are you okay with that? Well, of course, Kristi Noem would be because she's a dog killer. What does she care? She's playing cosplay everywhere she goes. She doesn't know her ass from a hole in the ground. The point being is they want us scared. Don't be scared. Be mad. Be mad. Go out, protest, do what you need to do. Call your senators. I am calling the senators nonstop. I am writing them. I am doing what I need to do. I don't want to go out to the protests because I know what they want is violence and I won't give it to them. Now, here's the big thing you need to know. If they come to your door, do not answer. You are under no obligation to answer your door. I don't care how many times they bang on it. What you need to do is if they're masked, and they're banging on the door and they've got guns out, you call your local police department and say there's a home invasion and tell them to come immediately. Seriously, that's what you're going to do. If for some bizarre reason your door is open, but your screen is shut, because we have one of those, steel screen things, security doors, and we leave it, we leave our door open and let the air flow through. If they come up and demand, well, is so-and-so living here? Do you have a warrant? Well, you need to open the door. According to the Fourth Amendment, no, I don't. Well, we're going to go get a warrant and we'll come back. Fine, you do that. Do you want to be arrested? Do you have a warrant? And then you shut the door. If they fire at you, they're in the wrong. Make sure you have Ring cameras. We are getting dash cameras for our car so that we have 360 coverage. I no longer trust our government. It's been a while. So the point being is, you do not obey. You do not bend a knee. You do not give in to them. You do not, because that's what they want. Now, here's the thing I need to get through your guys' head. When we were being abused by our abuser, how many times did we give in to them, thinking innocently that if we just appease them, they'll stop hitting us? Or if we just appease them, they'll go away. Or if we just appease them, they'll stop screaming at us. Okay? That never works. That never works, guys. It's not about us obeying. It's not about us doing anything. They decide ahead of time that they are going to abuse. Just like that Jonathan Ross, who was the agent that shot Renee Good, decided ahead of time, by having enough time to switch the camera from one hand to the other and put his hand on the gun, that he was going to shoot her. Now, here's the other thing: 37 people dead last year. This year, 2 people shot, dead. The other 2 in Oregon, I do not know what's going on with them. There has not been enough news about that. Keith Porter is another one that was shot by an off-duty ICE agent. They have 47 days training, 47 in honor of 47. Okay. The fact that this supposed, ICE agent, first of all, supposedly had law enforcement training or military training is even worse for him. He should have known better. I've worked with veterans. I have worked with people that have been in Kandahar. I have worked with people that have been in Vietnam. When you have to take a life and you have an actual moral compass, it affects you. You do your job, you get through it, you come home with PTSD, and then you start working on all the guilt and all the fear and all the, oh my God, this was a mortal sin. Holy cow, but it was justified. Oh my God, I don't know. Do you see where I'm going? People with a conscience, people with a moral compass are not just proud of having killed people. People who are psychopaths are proud of having killed people because it's a power thing to them. I cannot stress this enough. Anyone who takes a life and doesn't second guess themselves, you're dealing with somebody who has no empathy, no moral compass. War is not pretty. Death happens. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. But the ones that have a conscience are the ones that do the most suffering. The ones who don't, they don't care. They'll do it again. And the absolute smirk, the absolute nastiness. He couldn't wait to kill her. You could tell. How many of us have had abusers that did that, who we got the smirk and we knew what was coming? My dad would do that right before he hit me. I knew what was coming. So anyway, seen it in France. Yeah, thank you for telling us we're not crazy. We're not. They're gaslighting. That's not okay. And we need to contact every single senator, every single Republican senator, every single Democratic senator, representative, etc. Now, some of ours here in Arizona are on that list I was telling you about, not Mark Kelly, not Gallego. They're awesome, and I love them very much. But some of the representatives, oh yeah, they're on that list. Sasha, one of the children that was adopted and then prostituted out, named names. Yeah, and some of our representatives are on that list. So that's why they're doing everything they can to distract from the Epstein files, start a war with Venezuela, start shooting civilians. It's insane, but they want us to be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Resist. Resist in any way you can. Calling your senators, going out and protesting, keep it peaceful. Absolutely keep it peaceful, because what he's wanting is martial law. He wants somebody to go off the handle and shoot or do something violent so that he can go, oh, see, you're the abuser. Reactive abuse. Hello. That's what abusers do. They wait until their abused person gets fed up and then responds. And then they flip the script and go, oh, well, you're the abuser. I need to be even worse on you because you're the abuser. Not okay. Not okay. They're psychopaths. They're antisocial. They're sociopaths. There's no empathy. So what is the difference? So let's talk about that for a moment, because this belongs to all abusers, okay? We're going to go into step parents in just a minute, and we're going to be talking about this. So the definition of what is the difference between antisocial personality disorder is the official diagnosis, while sociopath and psychopath are terms that are used to describe the different manifestations of antisocial personality disorder. Psychopathy is seen more as an innate neurological issue. Like there's no empathy. There's like nothing, no natural empathy there. They're charming. They're manipulative. They lack emotion. Sociopathy is seen as more environmentally influenced, impulsive, erratic, capable of very shallow, not really strong attachments. The key difference lies in the origin, genetics versus environment, emotional capacity. Psychopaths feel little to nothing. Sociopaths are shallow and erratic with their emotions and behaviors. Psychopaths are calculating. They premeditate. Sociopaths are more impulsive. So that is the difference between those. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's talk about when the step parent is worse than the ex. And I have seen this happen so many times. All right. So when the step parent is worse than the ex, narcissists generally like to marry somebody who is normal because they can feed off of them. They get their narcissistic supply. We have real emotions, and oh boy, if we're crying, if we're upset, if we're hurt, they love that. Our tears are delicious to them. That's why they abuse. That's why they do the things they do. That's why they do it over and over and over again, because they enjoy it. They're sadists. They are sadists. Oh, and also, by the way, I can guarantee you he's probably harmed somebody, usually probably a woman, before, based on his behavior. Just what I've seen with other abusers. So they are cool as a cucumber. BPD, we are going to talk about in just a minute, and we're going to go in depth next week. So they marry somebody normal. They also marry somebody who is a minor narcissist to them. Sometimes they marry a major narcissist, not realizing that they're a major narcissist, because that major narcissist is looking for a minor narcissist to them. So they will marry somebody even worse than them. They also will marry people with borderline personality disorder, undiagnosed, untreated, et cetera, because their wounds are so raw and it is delicious to them. Delicious. So that's what they go after. They want somebody that can harm, hurt, whatever. Now, what ends up happening when they marry either a major narcissist or somebody who is a malignant borderline, they come together and they will pick on the good parent, the other ex, or the kids. And this is what I want to talk about today. So let's look at the definition of, let me pull this up. I accidentally took it down. Definition. Oh, if I could spell, I'd be dangerous, of neglect. Because that's what they usually do. Arizona. Boom. Okay. So the definition of neglect in Arizona is the failure to provide necessary care, food, water, shelter, medical supervision, etc. So what these monster step parents do is they are sadists. They enjoy hurting and harming. They are also cowards. They're cowards. Going after a mom, coward. So going after immigrants, cowards. Not allowing due process, cowards. So they go after people they think they can abuse because it makes them feel powerful. And who, unfortunately, in the family system has absolutely zero power? That would be the kids. So these monsters will go after the children. And what I have seen them do is anything and everything you could possibly think of to harm, to hurt, to neglect, and to abuse. They are evil, capital E. Now, I'm not talking about the good step parents that work with everybody and are good and are kind. I'm not talking about those people. I am talking about majorly disordered, personality disordered step parents. Okay. So I recently had a case where the stepmom had decided that she was going to withhold food from the children. That is neglect. The person I was working with was not clear on that because they were like, oh, well, I don't want to rock the boat. Okay, guys, you cannot be worried about rocking the boat. Your children's lives are at stake. Your children's lives are at stake. Their well-being is at stake. When you withhold food from a child, you're starving them. And you're telling them you're not worth it. I'm not even going to feed you. You're not worth it. Self-esteem and stuff. And you're setting them up for food disorders. Yay. But that's what they want. They want to hurt. They view the child as a threat to their authority. They want their children to be first and foremost. And I've seen some of them try to do the disciplinarian stuff. So what can you do to protect your kids from this? Well, there's not a lot you can do as far as them withholding food and things like that. You've got to stay in communication with your kids. You've got to know what's going on over there. Now, what the abuser will do in his new or her new spouse is they'll tell the kids, well, what happens over here stays over here. I need to know if you're safe. Are you being fed? Are you getting enough food? Are you being able to go to use the bathroom? That's another thing they'll do is they'll refuse bathroom privileges. Here's a bucket. Use the bucket. Or they'll make them hold it to a ridiculous amount of time so it's painful. They're evil, guys. You're dealing with absolute evil when you're dealing with somebody who's using a child for their sadistic pleasure. Absolute evil. So I've seen them put locks on the refrigerator to prevent them from getting food for themselves. And when the kids are not there, the locks are gone. And it's not that the kid is eating an exorbitant amount of food. Now, I can understand it if there was, some sort of disorder going on and there was a need to lock up the food. But in a lot of these cases, there's not that need. It's a power and control thing. Food is very fundamental. If food, shelter, clothing, I mean, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and so they do things like that. The parent, the custodial parent will hand over disciplinary action to the step parent. Oftentimes, those step parents are bat-shimomo crazy. I mean, bat-shimomo crazy. And it's to them, goody, goody, I can take out all my anger on this person. And that's what they do. And they will beat the child. They will use belts. They will use objects. They will do inappropriate corporal punishment. So the crime does not fit the punishment. Minor infractions. For some reason, the kid's getting the crap beaten out of them. That's abuse. You must document and you must call. And I know DCS they're just, oh my God, they're just as bad as they ever were. Unfortunately, they changed their name, lipstick on a pig. It's still a terrible agency, but you must document it. And you must take pictures. You must talk to your child. If they're being denied food, you file a complaint. You do. Is it going to make it worse? In the short run, yeah. In the long run, you're protecting your child because they cannot be denied food. If they're over there for weeks at a time, if you're doing like 1 week on, 1 week off, or if you're doing the 2-5-5-2, that's 5 days without food. That's not okay, especially when they're little like that, because they're growing. They're growing exponentially. They need the calories. They need the food. And I've seen them also complain that the child is eating too much. Well, the child is growing. They're not growing fat. They're growing up, and narcissists don't understand that. They don't want to understand that. They want to justify starving a child and seeing them suffer. The other thing I've seen them do is with very young children, like, 6, 7, 8, they'll be like, well, they should have gotten up. If they wanted breakfast, they should have gotten up. I'm sorry, who's the adult in this situation? Wake the child up. Hey, baby, it's time for breakfast. Come get breakfast. Well, they slipped through the alarm. You're the adult. You're the adult. Wake them up. So they'll do things like that. They will come up with excuses or reasons why they're not feeding the child, and it's all BS. Guarantee it. Document it. Take pictures if you can. Get the kids' statements. Call DCS, Department of Children's Services. In some places, it's still called CPS, Children's Protective Services, and get a paper trail going. Because God forbid, if anything happens, you need to have a paper trail, because I can guarantee you that abuser and that ex or that step parent is going to try to flip it back on you somehow. Well, it was you. You were starving him. You were doing this. You were doing that. You want to have that documented. Step parents that are disordered will gang up on the other custodial parent. So what can you do to protect yourself from this? It needs to be totally clear in the divorce decree that no one except the custodial parents are to do any sort of discipline with the children. No one is to do disciplinary actions with the children, especially corporal punishment. It needs to be very clear that the children are allowed therapy. And that's the other thing. Get them into a therapist. You need a third-party person to document this stuff. And, I tell people, it's like, either you call them or I will, because I have to, because I'm a mandated reporter. I'm not afraid of them. So you've got to protect your kid, because what's that message that you're sending to the kid if you do nothing? That you're more afraid for your own well-being? That's not a good message to send. Kids need to know that an adult, some adult, somewhere has got their back. Absolutely. So, step parents that are disordered do abuse. Absolutely. And they will do it sneakily and they will do it under the radar. I mean, oops, it was an accident. Oh, they caught their hand in the door. Just typical BS stuff. I've seen it all, guys. So when your ex marries, well, when you divorce, you've got to have it in the divorce decree that nobody else except the custodial parents are to do any sort of discipline, etc. The other thing I've seen is they'll withhold medical from them. They won't give them drugs for their asthma. They won't give them antibiotics for an infection. They won't, they don't take them to the doctor when they need to go. That's neglect. That's terrifying. That's not okay. And they're trying to hurt you, or they're trying to get off on feeling powerful. Again, every dark triad's secret fantasy is to kill their target of abuse. It makes them feel powerful. That's what they all want. They want everyone dead. They do. That's what they want to be able to do because they're that deranged and they're that evil. So, okay, definition of neglect in Arizona. Failure to provide necessary care, food, they'll withhold water, shelter, they'll put them someplace without a blanket that's cold, or they'll lock them outside. Oh my God, in Arizona, it gets up to 120 degrees in the summertime. There have been cases where they've locked their child outside because they didn't want to have to deal with them. And it's 120 outside, no water, no shade, nowhere to go. That's abuse. That's neglect. Or it's too cold and they'll lock them outside. So it's risking their harm, their health, their well-being, or development, often stemming from an unwillingness to meet basic needs, with specific laws in place for both children, DCS, and vulnerable adults, APS. Okay, so Adult Protective Services. So that's usually for seniors. A parent or guardian is unwilling to provide. Okay, I think I said that. Malnutrition, lack of hygiene. They won't let them shower. They won't let them bathe. Unsafe housing. They're living with a whole bunch of drug addicts or alcoholics. There's meth being manufactured. There's drugs laying out on the counter. That's abuse and neglect. Let's see. They won't provide medical treatment. Inadequate supervision. I have had cases where the other supervising parent, the other custodial parent, will find out that the other parent and the step parent went off for a weekend and left an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old at home alone with other children that are smaller. That is absolutely abuse. That is absolutely neglect. No child should be watching younger siblings unsupervised. It's just insane. They are insane. They're selfish. And all they care about is themselves. And they will put that child, if anything happened to those younger siblings, my God, could you imagine how that 10-year-old would feel? They would be so guilty. Oh my God. And that is something you don't get over. Okay. So that's all cases of neglect and abuse. Okay. They do not allow heating or cooling. Other surfaces is crucial to their minimum physical, mental health. Lack of hygiene. I think we covered all of that. So what you do is you write as much stuff into your divorce decree as you possibly can. The child has the right to mental health services. The child has the right to, food. They must be fed. If you need to put it in the divorce decree, I know it sounds stupid, but if you need to, do it. The child must be cared for medically, and then you need medical approval. So everything is 50-50 pretty much in Arizona. And so you have both joint medical thing. But oftentimes what will happen is the child will need medical services and the abuser will deny it and say, no, I'm not going to approve that. No, I'm not going to pay for that. No, I'm not going to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And this is why these cases drag out for years. I had one case where that poor woman was drugged back to court for 12 years, and the ex refused to pay for anything, and was constantly like, no, I'm not going to let them have, medical services. I'm not going to do that. You're going to have to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. The judge finally ruled against him, which was good. But it took 12 years because a lot of judges, like I said, a lot of judges, a lot of attorneys are narcissists themselves, and they side with the abuser. So yeah, it is very terrifying to realize that your ex has married somebody even worse than them, and your kids are coming home and saying, hey, this is going on. Well, that's when you start documenting, and that's when you try to protect them as much as you possibly can. You contact DCS if you need to. You get a hold of an attorney and you go back to court. This is the thing that narcissists, they view court as grand theater, and they are going to make sure that you have to spend every last dime you have dragging them to court. But it's for your child's protection, and it's worth it. It is. So yes, the step parent is disordered. Yes, you can call DCS if you suspect a neglect or abuse. You document every bruise, every bump, anything that's off. You keep the line of communication open with those kids. I know that the abuser will be like, oh, well, we don't talk about what's going on over here. You might want to put that into the divorce decree. The children have the right to talk about things going on at the other person's house. And it's going to be the same for you. And I know you try to keep things separate as much as possible, but you need to have that information about what's going on. You need to know that they're safe. You need to know that things are okay. How's school going? How's everybody treating you? How's, that kind of thing. And of course, the abuser will intimidate them and threaten them if they speak the truth. Sound familiar? So yeah, you want to make sure that your line of communication is open with your children, 110%, especially the littler they are. You make sure they understand you have a right to food. You have a right to water. You have a right to go use the bathroom when you need to. Absolutely. Yeah. So, that's the other thing. I've seen kids that are out of diapers come back with diaper rash because they've been soaking in their own urine. Yeah, not okay. Not okay. There is no excuse for that at all, period. Especially when they're older, like 9, 10. That's, no, thank you. So that is what step parents who are disordered do. And to protect your children, you write as much as you can in the divorce decree. You keep that line of communication open with them. You let them know what is okay and what is not. Now, is the abuser going to try to take it out on them? Yeah, absolutely. But they're going to do that anyway. So you might as well do everything you can to eventually get them full time, because that's what you're going for. You're trying to show they're neglectful, they're abusive. I'm filing for emergency custody. And then you go to town, and make sure you get a good lawyer. If you get a lawyer, if you get a lawyer that sits there and tells you to acquiesce and, just get along and, this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, your kids are being starved. Your kids are being soaked in their own urine. Your kids are being neglected. Your kids are not being fed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get a different lawyer. You get a different lawyer, and you fight like hell for them. So there is that. All right, let's go to the questions. Is it common for a narcissist to marry and divorce multiple times? Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. Have kids in all marriages and then lie that each husband was abusive and they're the victim. Yeah, that's what they do, guys. That's what they do. That is what they do. They burn through people. So they will marry, and in their heads, their crazy way of thinking, because remember, narcissists do not think the way you and I do. So in their heads, it's always somebody else's fault. It's never their own fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So they will marry, go into the next marriage. And the way that narcissists keep somebody connected to them, because remember, they would rather have a messed up, dysfunctional connection than no connection at all. They will impregnate or get pregnant and have a child. Now they've got them for 18 years. Now they've got drama for 18 years. That's what they do. And so they'll marry, and then this person turns out to not be the ultimate supply that they were hoping for, because in their head, they're thinking that every time they marry somebody new, it's the ultimate supply. It's the ultimate supply. They're going to supply me. I'm going to get everything I want. And when that dysfunctional fantasy doesn't happen, they divorce them after having children with them, and then quickly quickly move on to the next, and they will marry 5, 6, 7 times. Yeah, you betcha. I'm always very suspicious of people who have married multiple times and the circumstances don't make sense. It's like it's not like the spouse died or, gee, we got married too young or anything like that. It's always the victim thing. It's like, oh, they're all horrible to me, blah blah blah. And that's what they do. They make all of their exes the problem. They never once look in the mirror and go, what was my part? Ever. So yes, they do absolutely do that. And they flip the script. So here's the thing. Abusers, a disordered person will never accept responsibility ever for anything, even catching them red-handed. That's whoa, even catching them red-handed, even when there's video evidence, eyewitnesses, they will stand there and lie in your face and say that what you saw didn't happen. I didn't do that. I'm innocent. You're seeing it wrong. That's what they all do. In their head, in their story, they are the hero. Everybody else is the villain. Seriously. In a healthy person, here's how the difference between a psychopath and a healthy person. Psychopath walks murder and doesn't think twice about it. A person with a conscience always questions, what is my part of this? What am I doing wrong? How can I make this better? What can I do to serve? What can I do to help? What can I do to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they are always the hero in their story. They are never wrong. Never. My dad, oh my God, you guys, his favorite saying was, I'm not lost. I'm temporarily mistaken. I'm not wrong. I'm temporarily mistaken. He could never just point blank apologize. That the words "I'm sorry" never came out of his mouth. Not sincerely, anyway. He could never take responsibility for anything. He would try to flip the script. Well, if you didn't upset me, I wouldn't hit you. What? I'm sorry. No, wrong. Incorrect response. That's just what they do. That is just what they do. They are not responsible for a damn thing. They don't have a conscience. They have no morality. You cannot harm someone and know you're harming them and enjoy it and have morality. You can't. It's not possible. So anyway, there's one more question I wanted to answer from last week that I didn't get a chance to. Okay, my cousin is autistic. He doesn't understand toxic or narcissism. He keeps sending me photos of my toxic family members knowing we don't have contact. How do I get him to stop? It's very tricky to handle. Well, if he doesn't have the concept, hun, he's not going to get it. You could ask him and he still won't understand. So if he sends you stuff, don't look at it. Just don't look at it. Just, okay, thanks for the photos, and then move on. And it depends on the level of his autism too. If he can get it, if you can explain to him, it's like, look, I really don't want to see these photos. Not that I don't want to talk to you. I think you're great, but I don't want to see these photos. Please. Thank you. And then if he still does, then it's like scrolling past stuff. It's like, okay, I can't affect change here. So I'm just going to scroll past, that's basically what you do. So yeah, it's hard. It is hard. And it's not intentional. I don't believe that is intentional, especially if he really does not understand. Now, if he understood and was doing it, we'd be having a different conversation. But if he really doesn't get it, then yeah, don't take it personally. It's a quirk of his autism, not to get things like that. So just scroll past, let it go. Thanks for the pictures. Don't really want to see them, but thanks anyway, and just let it go. Let it go. All right. Next week, I want to talk about borderline personality disorder. I want to talk about all the different manifestations because unfortunately, TikTok and social media are coming up with more and more different titles for the same behavior. So we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder. We're going to talk about the way it manifests differently with different people with different amounts of trauma, whether it's nature or nurture. That makes a huge difference. It's kind of like antisocial and sociopathy and psychopathy. It depends. Is it neurological or is it nature, nurture? That's the essential and eternal question. So, okay, so we're going to talk about more about borderline personality disorder next week. You guys stay safe. Do not comply in advance. Get dash cams, carry a burner phone, videotape everything. Do not open your door to masked agents ever. Under the Fourth Amendment, you do not have to let them in. They need to have a signed warrant by a judge, not just waving some paper with some signature. Well, what judge is it? Where's it from? Well, let me call to verify. If they don't let you do that and they start threatening that they're going to arrest you, fine, go get a warrant and arrest me. That's what you need to do. Do it. So anyway, you guys stay safe, drink plenty of water, take good care of yourselves. Do not give up hope. Do not give up hope. This is the last power grab of a desperate and pathetically stupid regime that thinks that they can gaslight the entire world. And that is the hubris of a narcissist. So anyway, there it is. All right, guys, you guys take care, and I will talk to you later.